Today, we're joined by Mark Jammal, the dynamic sommelier and co-founder of the Vinous Bunch, a content platform and community dedicated to making wine more open, inclusive, and above all, fun. Today, we're focusing our conversation on what the next generation is looking for in wine, specifically in restaurants. So the three key takeaways and things we'll want to talk about. Number one, what are younger consumers ordering in restaurants? Number two, how can Italian wines better resonate with this next generation and in New York specifically? And number three, what do you think makes a wine or a region, let's say, sticky or memorable with new audiences? Hello, welcome to Masterclass US Wine Market with me, your host, Juliana Colangelo. This show has been designed to demystify the U.S. market for Italian wineries through interviews with experts in sales and distribution, social media, communications, and so much more. We will quiz each of our esteemed guests in every episode to solidify the lessons that we've learned from the episode. So sharpen your pencils, get out your notebooks, and join us this week to learn more about the U.S. market. Hello, welcome to Masterclass US Wine Market. Today, we're joined by Mark Jammal, the dynamic sommelier and co-founder of the Vinous Bunch, a content platform and community dedicated to making wine more open, inclusive, and above all, fun. With experience on the floor at some of New York City's most forward-thinking restaurants, Mark has his finger on the pulse of what younger drinkers are ordering, questioning, and craving when it comes to wine. From natty pours to old world icons, he's helping to shift the conversation around wine culture in the city and beyond. Mark, welcome to the show. It's so much fun to have you here.
Thank you so much, Juliana. It's really a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. For our listeners, Mark and I attended the same master's program at Sonoma State. So we're alum of SSU. So it's always fun to interview a friend. So thanks again for joining me.
Of course.
So Mark, for starters, for our listeners who might not be familiar with you and your background, tell us a little bit more about your wine journey and how your story began in wine.
Yeah, my journey is a bit different than others. My background is in music theater. In college, I spent a summer performing in summer stock, which is like it's summer camp for adults. And it was in Sonoma County at a theater company called Summer Rep Theater. Long story short, the last week of summer stock, we got kicked out of the dorms at Sonoma State, where we got our MBA. And me and my roommate were fortunate enough to be partnered with a homestay, which were people part of donors of the summer stock community, and a winemaker named Jeff Stewart with Hartford Family Court opened his home up to us and let us live with him.
Wow. That's amazing. Why did you get kicked out of the dorms though? What happened there?
Because Sonoma State had to start the fall semester.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought maybe, you guys did something scandalous.
No. Yeah.
Create some drama. I get it. So you got kicked out of the dorms and you end up staying with a winemaker. Tell us about that. How did that inspire where you sit today?
Yeah. He took us on a tour of the winery.
Amazing.
Which, as a Texan, believe it or not, that was something that was not normal for me. And this is it's a grassroots winery, really good farming and small production. So I got bit by the bone there. I started it there and then moved to New York, started working in restaurants to pay the bills, and learned that the wine industry was probably the most balanced way of paying bills and exploring culture. So
you said that so politically correct. I love it. Balanced way. Yes.
Yeah. We like to venture out in the wine industry, and started working for a wine group, RG3 Hospitality, which is 5 restaurants, the Miriam restaurants in Brooklyn and on the Upper West Side, Upper East Side, and 1803. I became the wine director there, the corporate wine director, and really got a taste of the commercial wine industry in New York City. From there, I enrolled for the MBA program, WSET programs, and just got engulfed in the industry. Just did my first harvest at Troon for 3 months just to
Awesome.
Cut my teeth on that side of things. And just an abundance of different angles in the industry. I really like to take it all in and be able to approach it from experience is kind of my ethos.
Very cool. Amazing. And I love your intro story and what you've done with your career, just, from that small seed. It's pretty great. So Mark, as you said, you've really immersed yourself in the industry in so many ways. So today we're focusing our conversation on what the next generation is looking for in wine, specifically in restaurants, considering your extensive background in New York. And we'll focus on New York since it is such a major market, of course, for Italian wine. So the three key takeaways and things we'll want to talk about. Number one, what are younger consumers ordering in restaurants? Number two, how can Italian wines better resonate with this next generation and in New York specifically? And number three, what do you think makes a wine or a region, let's say, sticky or memorable with new audiences? So we'll dive into all those topics. And for starters, let's talk about what's happening on the floor in the restaurant, where you are probably more days than you'd like to be, but you're getting that firsthand experience. What are you seeing your customers in the restaurant gravitate towards in terms of the wine list?
Yeah, that's the $1,000,000 question, right? So now I'm the wine director for a dual entity group, Lovebirds Wine Group. I'm mostly on the floor at the restaurant. And what I see the most, especially in Brooklyn, and I'm trying to differentiate Brooklyn, the New York scene, the big city scene from the national scene, but there's a few key words. I mean, the natural wine term is huge.
Mm-hmm.
And I see a big differential between natural wine marketing, actual natural wine, and the palates of the consumer with that. The consumers like buzzwords too. They are really into orange wine, chilled reds, and pet nats. A lot of them are just looking to make an order fast with something they know, a varietal they know,
Right.
something cool and hip.
Yeah, absolutely. And you named three styles that are obviously quite popular in natural wine between chilled reds, orange wine, and pet nats. Do you think there's anything from a palate perspective that it appeals to the consumer about those styles? Or do you think it's more to do with really the marketing and branding behind some of these natural wines?
Yes and no. There absolutely is a palate perspective on the broad scope. People like things that are lifted and energizing.
Right.
From what I've seen, they don't like things that are oxidative or too jammy these days, which is crazy to me because the commercial palate used to be just like a big alcohol overripe style.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, like you said, Mark, the liftedness of the palettes, people wanting lighter styles. We've really seen that shift away from that bigger jammy style of the 90s. And I think what you said earlier about differentiating Brooklyn from Manhattan is key here because, that style, those bigger styles definitely still have action and play in the Midtown Steakhouse. But when we're thinking about working the market in Brooklyn and more independent restaurants, like you said, they're looking for lighter, more trendy styles. What about from a varietal perspective? You mentioned pet nats, orange wines, chilled reds, but are there consumers and people in the restaurant asking for any varietals by name, or are they mostly asking for styles?
I see that, and I build my wine lists around mostly known styles or known regions. As a buyer, I do have some really trendy books calling me to bring in wild Italian varietals. But no, I mean, most people are drawn to Nebbiolos and Sangioveses and not even Sicilian styles, which I look forward to talking more about Sicily because it's a really cool region. But it is funny from a marketing standpoint, the young consumer who is just getting into wine wants what they know.
Wants what they know. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because they want to feel comfortable. I mean, wine can be an intimidating category. And as an industry, we still have some work to do to break down some of those barriers. So what you're saying totally makes sense. They want something they feel comfortable with and they know. So for Italy, you're seeing Sangiovese and Nebbiolo, and I imagine, Barolo, Chianti, those are buzzwords in Italy that consumers have come to know. How about in terms of regionality? Are there any regions that your clientele is asking for by name, whether it's Italy or outside of Italy too?
Yeah, a big one. Sicily. Sicily is big. I think it just has to do with culture. This kind of escapism, influencer, linen clothes, vacation lifestyle, this show called White Lotus. I don't know if you've heard of it.
No, I have. Yes, the White Lotus, in fact, like to say.
Yeah, Sicily is huge because it makes really tasty island wines that have an earthiness and have this exotic flair to them, to be honest.
Yeah. And like you said, the escapism that comes from ordering something from Sicily, people that just got back from a vacation, perhaps in Sicily, and want to relive their memories of perhaps sipping a glass of wine in Taormina or, on the coast somewhere. So that totally makes sense why Sicily is trending. Any other regions? Because, you see consumers now maybe starting to go to Puglia or Sardinia, or really are you still seeing Sicily as the number one?
We have, I don't know if it's regional as much as it is varietal, but we have a brand from Cantina Orsana.
Mm,
They're a co-op in Umbria,
okay.
and their sub-brand Lunaria, they have a Pinot Grigio pet nat. And from a marketing standpoint, I think it sells really well because it's a Pinot Grigio
Right.
pet nat. And from a Somm scenario, they're certified biodynamic Demeter, and it's clean wine. It's really delicious, clean, fruity, clean wine, and it's really affordable.
Awesome.
So we do really well with that, and they do really well as a brand from what I've seen. So I see the key regions for the most part, unless we have some niche people who have been to some other like southern France, Umbrian,
Right.
Abruzzo regions in Italy. But time again, it comes back down to major regions and major varietals.
That makes sense. Absolutely. And, I think like we said earlier, people are looking, they're spending money, right? When they buy a bottle of wine in a restaurant, they want to feel like at least they have an idea that they're going to like it, which leads me to what I wanted to talk to you about next is value. Obviously, there's a lot of uncertainty in the economy these days and ups and downs. Things cost more. Not everyone, but a lot of people are driven by value. So would you say that next generation that's in the restaurants and at your wine bar and your restaurant, how do they define value when it comes to wine?
Time and time again, and maybe I have a bit of bias as a storyteller, but value comes in storytelling in this industry, and being able to take people to the vineyards, take people to the wineries through words, and really selling the consumer about what is going on out there, whether it be winemaking styles, whether it be tasting notes, but truly having a passionate approach to it is what I've seen draws the consumer in
Right.
beyond what they know. But what can help wineries who might not have those driving factors is create them through storytelling.
Right. Drive them through storytelling. So it's still coming back from what I'm hearing you say is that it's coming back to still the sommelier or whoever is selling the wine in the restaurant being able to tell a great story about a special bottle and teach the consumer something through storytelling that's memorable. So really still educating your gatekeepers and your sommeliers seems to still be very critical for the New York market is what I'm hearing you say.
Absolutely. And yeah, pushing that through brand ambassadors or brand developers who can connect with the people who will be doing the selling on the consumer end, building hype around the brand and putting people out in the market who live to tell stories.
And have passion for the brands. Yeah, absolutely. That makes a ton of sense. Mark, you've been working in New York for many years now and in the wine industry and in restaurants. How have you seen the role of the Italian wine category evolve in your time working in restaurants in New York?
One of the most exciting things I love about the Italian market is the price for value. Italian wines have a place on everybody's list because you can just get some of the best value wines out there from boutique producers. So they're taking over. They're doing well. I mean, it really is French and Italian are staples, and I have a lot of Italian wine on my list. And I hate to say it, not by choice, but by necessity. Just because the best price for value out there. I think the more that people can know that and lean into it, it does really well. And, when people dine out, they are looking for a decadent meal and wine pairing and a sense of occasion. And Italian wine offers that.
Yeah.
With a lot of dishes in these bistro style. Let's be real. New York is full of bistro style, Euro style restaurants at this point.
Right.
So Italians leaning into their styles of this slightly VA, earthy, lively, holistic wines is exactly what they can and should do. And just finding a way to tell the story behind that, whether it be trade organizations or, yeah.
Yeah. So educating, again, like we said, educating the somms and having people in the market that really are passionate and can share your brand story really well. Also telling your story for you. Kind of, leads me to the next question I had, which you partially answered already, but do you think there's anything else beyond what we just spoke about that Italian wineries can do better to connect with both next generation consumers, but also next generation buyers. I mean, you're out there in the sommelier community. I'm sure starting to mentor and see some younger somms come up. What do you think is getting that new somm on the floor excited about wine?
I have a bit of old school approach these days, which I think new school somms will eventually take in. But to get the young somm is to have the hip approach, at least have a SKU or a sub brand that is marketed towards that. But the key is for longevity is to stay classy with it. Don't go full natty.
Stay classy, everyone. Yeah, I hear you. I mean, look at these lighter styles and approaches, some of these categories, whether it's a chilled red or an interesting sparkling or an orange, but keep the wine well made. Yeah, that's the balance, right? That is special to strike. So now for a different kind of question, as we start to wind down our conversation a little bit, if you could share a bottle of wine with any Italian winemaker, past or present, who would it be and why?
I would probably have to go with my first Italian influence, which would be Giuseppe Benanti. Back to Sicily. I love Etna wines. I'm enthralled by Etna wines, and the Benanti wines are timeless and benchmark for quality and farming, especially in a traditionally hard to farm place. So just getting the deep insight on a region and a heritage brand like that would just be pretty cool.
Pretty awesome. It'd be pretty cool to do it in Sicily, I'd imagine. Yeah. Preferred place. Great answer. Mark, we'll now wind down with our rapid fire quiz. So you can do your best to answer these questions just in a couple sentences. Question number 1, what is your number 1 tip for mastering the U.S. wine market?
Focus on relationships. That's how brands are built and maintained. In this current economy of wine sales, it's just all about relationships in the end.
Yeah, it's true. And time we hear our guests say that, but there's a reason why. Absolutely. Number 2, what is something you might have told your younger professional self about selling wine in New York City restaurants?
Be adaptable, but again, stay classy. Stay true to roots and heritage of what this industry was built on, and that grassroots has always been around. So not discrediting what has always been there in relation to the new wave.
Having respect as well. So it sounds like stay classy.
Yeah,
absolutely. And finally, we travel a lot. Sounds like you're out in California quite a bit. What is some of your favorite travel hacks when you're on the road?
TheraBands.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. You got to stay lean and limber with these wine dinners. So a good workout, finding the hotel gym, and getting the blood flowing with a TheraBand in the hotel room before some wine trips and the market visits ended by a lovely wine dinner is the way to keep the mind strong and the body limber.
I love that. Yeah. Movement is key. Balance, right? All about balance. Well, Mark, thank you so much for joining us today on Masterclass US Wine Market. How can our listeners follow along with you and everything you're doing in New York and with the Vinous Bunch and all your adventures?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Juliana. The Vinous Bunch is on Instagram, the Vinous Bunch, at the Vinous Bunch. And yeah, I'm always doing all sorts of things, little pop-ups, some market interaction, and all sorts of fun things. So keep in touch, new trending brands. Yeah.
Amazing. Awesome. Thank you again, Mark. It was so great to have you here.
Thank you so much, Jules. Really appreciate you.
Thank you for joining me today. Stay tuned each week for new episodes of Masterclass US Wine Market with me, Juliana Colangelo. And remember, if you've enjoyed today's show, hit the like and follow buttons wherever you get your podcasts.